bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Tuesday, November 14th. 318 days into the new year, just 47 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, and all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Yeah, man, I'm ready. There's something about Tuesday, because that means we had a great show yesterday. We've got a great show coming up tonight. We've got one coming up tomorrow. Something about Tuesday, right? Love it. Almost as much as my River Moon coffee. Yeah. Tonight, so excited. Man, last night, Michael Lee Hill. Great show. Tonight, Daniel Sheehan is here. He is live from Standing Rock. Now, what is he doing up there? We're going to be talking about that. He has been retained. So we will be talking about that. Also, we have the JFK file dump. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the conspiracy of our world and the New World Order and what is going on with things. And there is nobody better than Daniel Sheehan. He is one of the smartest men on the planet. He has achieved. A couple of years ago, and I'm just trying to think when it was. It doesn't matter. A couple of years ago, he was. I gave him. I kind of teased him a little bit about how much he has accomplished, because, and it's all a matter of public record, everything that he has done. But by the time he was 30, he nearly took down 2 administrations, 2 White Houses, couple of newspapers, couple of foreign countries. I mean, it's just incredible what he has done with his life. And I teased him about it. But the point is, I ask everybody all the time, what have you done lately? What have you done? Have you done enough? Have you? Well, if you ever want to question, I'm too busy, I got this going on, go and look at somebody like Daniel Sheehan and just check out what they have done. It's not what they have accomplished. That's the wrong word. It's what they have done. And Danny Sheehan tonight, he is here with us. It is an honor and a privilege. Tomorrow night, Daniel Brinkley is going to be here. Now, Daniel tomorrow we are going to, of course, discuss the near-death experience, but the Las Vegas shooter, Stephen Paddock, and the real story that is the Las Vegas massacre. Okay, so we're going to talk about that tomorrow night. And I have discussed this in brief with Danian, and some of these revelations are going to shock you. It's pretty heady stuff, and we're going to discuss that tomorrow night. And then Thursday night is Fader Night, of course, with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom live, followed by Open Lines all night long. I don't know how we can top our Open Lines UFO Thursday last week. That was absolutely incredible, but we always do, right? So we'll top that. We'll top that Fader Night for sure this Thursday. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black, JChurch Radio. You can just go right now, follow, like, and subscribe over on our website. Now, a couple of things. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter, so you can go there and hang out. 280 characters, so you can do what you want. We also have 2 chat rooms that are open, of course, Spreaker and KGRA, The Planet. Any questions or comments during the show, use hashtag F2BQ. You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Now, first off, our podcast, the next late night podcast star contest, the last day to enter is November 30th. That is 2 weeks away. Today is the 14th. Okay, so you've got 2 weeks to get your stuff together and get it into us. Everybody that has entered so far, excellent. Absolutely excellent. It's going to be hard. It is not going to be an easy decision, but they have gotten in. You have 2 weeks. Now, I've had a lot of email inquiring about this, and I've deferred everybody immediately straight to our contest page, which is over at jimmychurchradio.com. The rules and how to enter are all there, clear and easy. But the first thing you have to do is you've got to register as a Fadernaut. And we do that. It's no purchase necessary. All you've got to do is go to our membership section and register as a Fadernaut. And we do that to verify your email and who you are. Very simple, okay? Because this is a cool contest, and we're giving away the grand prize is totally awesome. So no yahoos allowed. Okay, so you've got to go and register first as a Fadernaut. You must live in the United States. Okay, now you have to submit to us an official pitch. Thank you for posting that in Twitter, Mark Tarana. I will retweet that now. An official pitch, just like you would with any network. You're going to pitch us your idea. Okay, you're going to submit to us an audio recording of your podcast show idea. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear what you're all about. You're going to submit your podcast name. You're also going to submit some artwork with a logo and a banner that you would use for your website or for promotion. Very simple. Okay, that you're going to pitch us. We will pick a winner. Okay, now the thing is about this. The grand prize, Tascam, courtesy of Tascam. You're going to get a Tascam Mini Studio Creator, US-42. You're going to get their TH-MX2 headphones. You're going to get their TM95GN microphone, all the cables that you need. Everything's going to just plug in and go, and you will have a complete professional podcast studio to create, to do what you want to do, the thing that is driving you. Okay, we are going to give you the audience. We're going to give you the recognition. We're going to give you the gear. The rest is up to you. We are going to pick somebody so dynamic. And I'm serious. It's tough already, all the entries that have come in. So you got to bring your A game. All right, now just go to Game Changer on our website. It's right there. Click on that, and complete rules and how to enter are right there. Okay, good luck. November 30th. Is the deadline. After that, we will not accept any entries. Okay, so good luck. It's going to be great, and I'm telling you, the winner is going to deserve it, and they're going to get that recognition, and then their first podcast is going to broadcast right here on the Game Changer Network. Very cool. And now also, I want to thank everybody that is signed up for the Unity workshops and their first series of podcasts, which is on Portals. Their second series also is being put together right now, too, as well. And they need your help. Producers, writers, testimonials, video, all of that stuff, artwork. This is a community project. It's being done by you. Okay, now I am serious. So impressed with the amount of volunteers in the community that are in on this. It's going to blow your mind. I mean, seriously, I am so impressed with the Fadernauts in our community. All the information that you need, theunityproject.org. Theunityproject.org. You can email John Lund, John at modernmasters.org. You can email Rita right here, Rita at jimmychurchradio.com, and come in and hang out with the community. All right? And let's do this together. And again, I want to thank everybody that has signed up for participation. Okay? Now, subscribe to our podcast. We have over 755 archive shows, custom apps, Apple, Android, all platforms, just $2 a month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the podcast banner. Our next event is coming up. It is quick. We are sitting on November 14th. I cannot even believe this. Our next event is the Conscious Life Expo, February 9th through the 12th, 2018 at the LAX Hilton. Tickets and info are at consciouslifeexpo.com. An amazing lineup of speakers this year. I do want to tell all of you Fadernauts that Friday night, opening night, I will be hosting the Ancient Aliens panel on Friday night. You can get your tickets there at Conscious Life Expo. It is selling out. I'm just telling you now to go and get it done. That thing is going to sell out. It's going to sell out quick. And when it does, there's nothing I can do. So I want to hang out with all of you Fadernauts. We're going to have Linda Moulton Howe. We're going to have Corey Good. We're going to have David Wilcock. We're going to have Jay Widener and William Henry on the Ancient Aliens panel. Now, all of them have starred in the show, Ancient Aliens, right? So that's it. That's the panel. That panel does not get any better than that. So that'll be Friday night at the Conscious Life Expo. Okay, where am I at? Oh, yeah, I just mentioned becoming a Fadernaut in our membership section. You can do that. That's separate from our podcast. Just go to our membership section, and you have a variety of things that you can choose from in becoming a Fadernaut. It's all right there, different levels, month to month, all year, whatever, no purchase necessary, all that kind of stuff. It's all right there in our membership section. Everything from available to you, commercial-free downloadable archives to autographed hats and shirts and all that. It's right there in our membership section. Help support the show. Okay? Speaking of that, Life Change Tea, Ronnie McMullen, he's going to be at the Conscious Life Expo. Life Change Tea, their super tea. I drink it every single day. Go and I show you guys this all the time, but here it is. Getthetea.com, bottles, droppers of stuff here in the studio, and I take it every single day. I take pills. I take the Coral Sea. I take the G.I. Joy. I love that stuff right there. So, getthetea.com, promo code FADER. Okay, River Moon Coffee, promo code F2B Blend for the Faded Black Blend. New Pharma, promo code F2B, the number 2, F2B, New Pharma. Ancient Life Oil, promo code FADER, Ancient Life Oil, CBDs. We're going to have Ronnie on next week to talk about CBD. Sacred Skulls, right there. Get yourself a Sacred Skull. Of course, New Manna Food Storage. Man, it was so cool setting out all of those autographed T-shirts today to everybody that purchased at New Manna. Just any purchase over $100, you get an autographed T-shirt, right? And you get a discount, 5%, promo code Jimmy. And, of course, Bearing Optics Night Vision. Go support the show by visiting all of our sponsors here. All right, let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, the one and only Blink 182 Stickman Travis Barker. is 42. And I don't know. Let's see. Let's see how quick you guys are on Twitter. Who's the richest drummer in the world? Man. Neil Peart, maybe. Rush. Who is the richest? Phil Collins has probably got some money. He's considered a drummer. He's also a lead singer, but he's a drummer. Ringo Starr, of course, right? And then Travis Barker. I don't know if he's number 4. Number 3, maybe what's his name from U2? He's probably packing some ducks in the pond. But Travis Barker is he's one of the best drummers in the world. And I just imagine he's sitting on a pile of money from playing drums. 42 years old. He's incredible. If you ever get a chance, just spend some time on YouTube and go look at some Travis Barker videos. They're absolutely amazing. Also today, Joseph Simmons, Run. That's right, Run of Run DMC. Today is 53. And funny man Patrick Warburton, who I love. He's funny. He's a great actor. Very funny guy. Today he's 53. He was great in Men in Black 2. By the way, that's actually how he made the list. And also today, Yanni. Yanni is 63. Yeah, I forgot about Tommy Lee. Yeah, Tommy Lee of Crew is he's probably Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van. So yeah, what is the list? Can you guys break down Lars Ulrich? Yeah, there you go. There you go. I forgot about Lars. Lars is probably a friggin' billionaire. Okay, here we go. Jason Presson. Ringo Starr's worth $300 million. Phil Collins, $250. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Oh, of course, Dave Grohl. He's still considered a drummer, $225 million. Yeah, Don Henley, $200. Lars Ulrich, $175. Oh, yeah. Charlie Watts, $160. So I guess Travis is way down that list. It's kind of funny when you see it together there. You know, Charlie Watts and Lars and Henley, Grohl. Some of those are cheating, though. Phil Collins, Dave Grohl. Yeah, Don Henley counts. So does Lars. Of course, Charlie Watts. Yeah. So I'm going to ace off the list Phil Collins and Dave Grohl. Don't want to do it, but those guys made most of the. I don't know. Man, that's a tough call. But Grohl, I would say Grohl would call himself a lead singer today more than he would call himself a drummer. I don't know. Phil Collins, same thing. Man, that's tough. That's a tough one. But anyway, Travis Barker today, 42 years old. Okay, where am I? Man, I'm almost out of time. On this day in history, OTD, 1969. Are you ready? Roger Taylor from Queen. How much is he worth? Yeah, he's got to be loaded. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. I want to see the rest of the list. See, that's why I love you guys on Twitter, man. You guys are the best. All right. Apollo 12, 1969. Apollo 12, the second manned mission, allegedly, to the surface of the moon is launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida, with astronauts Charles Conrad Jr., Richard F. Gordon Jr., and Alan Bean on board. Spent 32 hours on the surface of the moon, collected some moon rocks. I think they visited whatever that other moon lander was that landed there before that. Man, what was that? I can't remember the name of it. But hung out for 32 hours, flew back to planet Earth. When they splashed down, this is the thing, they landed like 3 miles from one of the recovery ships, nearly hit the thing. 3 miles in the open ocean is close. You wouldn't even have a chance to get out of the way, probably. Yeah. All right. 140 million. Who's 140 million? Oh, Roger Taylor, 140 million. Wow. Almost made that. Gotta have some bankroll. You guys are the best. All right. Where am I? Oh, Fader fact. Tokyo is the city. Okay, this is a Fader fact now. Now, I want you to listen to this, since we're talking about money. Max Weinberg. Yeah, Max. Yeah. Max is. I'm going to put Max in the $10 million category, maybe 25. Larry Mullen, of course, U2, $150 million. Roger Taylor, $105. Joey Kramer from Aerosmith, $100 million. Yeah, Chad Smith, Red Hot Chili Peppers, $90 million. Travis Barker, $85 million. Oh, my God. For playing drums. Stuart Copeland comes in at $80. Man, Joey Kramer, really, $100 million. Wow, that's absolutely incredible. Okay, back to talking money. Fate or fact, Tokyo is the city with the most millionaires. Tokyo. But London has the most multimillionaires. And New York, the most billionaires. And that is a fate or fact. Tonight, Daniel Sheehan is here, one of the brightest men on the planet, and we're going to talk about everything. He is in Standing Rock. He has been retained, so we're going to discuss that and the implications of Standing Rock and what is going on up there. And we're going to jump into all of it, the JFK files that were just released. We're going to talk about the corporations that are running this world, the new world order, and everything else under the sun. We will run out of time with Danny Sheehan. We do it every time that he is on the show. He is absolutely one of the best, so he'll be here in a few minutes, so stand by. Also, tomorrow night, Daniel Brinkley is going to be here. Of course, we're going to talk about the near-death experience, but we're also going to discuss some revelations coming out of Las Vegas and what is going on with the Las Vegas massacre. Then Thursday night's a Fader night with Open Lines and John Rappaport. But I want to, a couple of things that I want to discuss really quick before I bring in Danny, and I'm out of time actually, which is this. I don't understand. Today we had another mass shooting happened here in Northern California, up near Redding. And the shooter was firing off what they were calling, heavy magazines and thousands of rounds of ammunition next door, and his neighbor had called the police. He then went, and I think, and the information is a little unsteady right now. It's still pretty fluid, but I think he shot that neighbor's roommate and then stole a pickup truck, or stole a vehicle, and then took off and started driving down the street, shooting at homes randomly out the window of his car. Ended up at an elementary school where he started shooting at families that were dropping off children at school. The school went immediately on lockdown, thank goodness. He did not get inside of the school. The whole incident out in front of the school lasted about 6 minutes, or then he was shot and killed. But the point is, it's another mass shooting here in the United States. I don't know what the total is going on for the year, what they are considering a mass shooting. And a mass shooting is 3 or more people killed at the same spot by one person with a gun. And that's considered a mass shooting. Today, 5 were killed. The Las Vegas shooting, which was last month, 58 people killed there. But that was headline news. And the revelations that came out about Stephen Paddock, about his past, about what he did, the lack of a past, the lack of a criminal history, and for him to just show up in a hotel room with 20 firearms and automatic weapons and bump stocks and clips and ammunition and shooting up like he did the crowd at the concert across the street, a Harvest Festival, was a really, 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 really important story. It was a big story. And just like magic, it disappeared. We should be talking about that right now, today, and it should be in the headlines. What is going on with that investigation? There's something fishy about that story. But here we are now a month later, and we've got another. Now, what if that school had not gone down on lockdown? What would have happened? You know, it's already tragic enough, right, that 5 people. But this guy were killed. But this guy was ready to go into a school and unload. Just like Paddock, he's dead. Okay, we just had the terrorist truck attack in New York. That guy lived. I always find it strange when we can't take these guys alive. That's, you know, and I understand, you know, that some have to, you know, be killed because they're going nuts with a gun, and there you go. But why is it, right? Why is it that we can't get one of these guys alive? You know, why can't we shoot off their hands? Shoot the gun out of their. I don't know. I'm not a cop, and I don't have tactical training, and I'm not a Marine, and I'm a sniper. I don't know, but this same question comes up after each one of these incidents. Exactly. Mark just posted "Dead Men Don't Talk," and that's the first thought that comes to mind. I just don't understand it. So anyway, there's going to be more on this, this guy's background. Who was he? What, was he on drugs? I mean, he was going nuts, and he was known to law enforcement. And there you go. It's happened again. And the headlines like this, that every single day, it just seems like these stories are getting bigger and bigger and more sensational than the day before. I would like to talk to Danny Sheehan about that very subject tonight, and we will. This is Fade to Black. I'm going to get out of here, get in Danny, and I got to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, and I think I am. Am I doing the right thing? Come on. Here we go. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Danny Sheehan. He's live up in Standing Rock. He has been retained. We're going to discuss that, the JFK files, and, of course, everything going on with who is really running this world. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I'll be right back with our guest, Danny Sheehan. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights. Just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tepe.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Very simple. Come and join the conversation in Twitter. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. We have all the chat rooms are open. So you can come and hang out there on KGRA, The Planet, or Spreaker. Email is Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Our guest tonight, Daniel Sheehan, JD, graduate of Harvard Law School, a former director of the Christic Institute, and is a professor of world politics at the University of California. He is the General Counsel and Co-Director for the Institute for Cooperation in Space. Mr. Sheehan also has a long and distinguished history as a public interest counsel and was legal counsel in the Pentagon Papers case, the Iran-Contra, 3 Mile Island, and, of course, Karen Silkwood, as well as many other high-profile cases. Dan shares the responsibility for the formulation of a new worldview integrating into all of the classical fields of human knowledge and the now virtually universally accepted fact of the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence in our universe and the growing accepted fact that representatives of one or more of these extraterrestrial civilizations are presently visiting our planet and interacting with members of our species. But tonight, we are going to discuss Standing Rock. We're also going to jump into the JFK document release and the current climate of global domination of corporations in this world of ours. Some call it the New World Order. His website is theromeroinstitute.org, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Danny Sheehan. Danny, good evening, man.
Good evening, Jimmy. It's good to be with you again.
You know, Danny, welcome back, and it's always great to hear your voice and talking to you this week. I just miss you, but there was a strange anniversary yesterday. Karen Silkwood.
Yes. It's the 47th anniversary of the night that Karen Silkwood was murdered on the way to deliver her documents, the internal documents from the Carnegie Nuclear Corporation, to the New York Times. She was on her way to deliver the documents that showed that the plant was missing over 40 pounds of 98% pure bomb-grade plutonium. The plant was the unique and exclusive plant in the world that was designed to reprocess spent nuclear fuel. to grind it up and put it through centrifuges and drain out the plutonium and put it into fuel rods to be used in the fast flux test facility in Hanford, Washington. And she, in trying to protect the safety at the plant, was trying to organize a union, a chapter of the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union,
right,
to be able to protect the workers against radiation exposure. And in the course of that, she was going through files in the plant, and she came across what they call the MUF documents, M-U-F, stands for missing and unaccounted for plutonium. And she discovered they were missing 40 pounds of this plutonium, enough to make 4 atomic bombs, twice the size of the ones that destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the year she was born, in 1945. And she was going to be meeting David Burnham from the New York Times. He was waiting for her at the Holiday Inn. She was coming from a labor meeting, driving down the road in the countryside from the Cimarron nuclear plant, and she was rammed and run from the road into a concrete bridge culvert and killed. And all the documents were taken from her car. And we uncovered the fact that it was a man by the name of Harold Behrens who had killed her, and that he had been employed by the security division of the Kerr-McGee nuclear plant. He was one of 3 undercover agents that were working for the Oklahoma City Police Department in their special intelligence division that used to be run by Jim Reading, who was now the head of the security department at Kerr-McGee.
Now,
he had hired them to follow her, and he rammed her and ran her off the road and killed her.
Yeah, single car accident. Yeah, right. So, but Danny, I wanted to ask you this. The one thing that blows my mind about the Karen Silkwood case is that the contamination, the plutonium, was on the inside of her gloves. It was all over her home, her apartment, her clothes, her car. It was inside of her body, right? What was the bottom line with that? Were they? What's the story behind that?
What they did is the security department. We were capable finally, after we got 2 federal judges removed from the case, were biased because they had been appointed by Senator Robert S. Kerr, the United States senator who nominated them to be federal judges. We got them removed and finally got a 3rd federal judge sent in from Kansas, and he ordered to us to be allowed to get the discovery that we'd been trying to get. And we dug up the remains of her apartment that had been buried in these big 50-gallon canisters and ran isotopic tests on the contaminant and found out that it was from a lot number 29, which had not even been in the plant anywhere any of the time during which she worked there, and that the only samples of it existed under lock and key in the security department of the Kerr-McGee Corporation. And we discovered that what they had done is they had put 500,000 disintegrations per minute of radioactive plutonium on the food in her refrigerator.
Right.
And she had not known that, and she became contaminated with the food in her refrigerator. And they were doing that to try to keep her away from the plant because they had been wiretapping her telephones, and they had heard her have the conversation with Steve Wadka, the union representative from the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union, who had set up the meeting for her with David Burnham from the New York Times. And they knew that she was going to go to the meeting, so they contaminated her home with the radiation. And they decided that then they were going to, when she came to the plant and was reading radioactive, they took her into custody and brought her to Los Alamos, where they thought they could keep her under lock and key under the auspices of having to examine her. But she escaped from the facility and got back to Oklahoma and was going to keep the appointment with David Burnham. And so they panicked, and Harold Behrens went after her in a vehicle and rammed her to try to drive her from the highway to take the documents away from her. But she eluded him, and he chased her down and rammed her, and she went off the road and hit this concrete culvert and flipped over, and it killed her. And they removed the documents from the car. We know that because I took the deposition of Ted Sebring, who was the owner of the garage where they took her wrecked car, He testified as an eyewitness who saw the Kerr-McGee people come to his garage after midnight and in the company of the Oklahoma State Highway Patrol, and go into the garage and remove the documents from her car. And we extracted that from them in discovery and won the $10.5 million judgment against the Kerr-McGee nuclear plant, and actually got the ruling that stopped the construction of all private nuclear power plants in the United States from the day of that ruling in June of 1979 all the way up until today.
Now, I know that I've teased you a little bit over the years about your life's accomplishments, and you're very humble about it. But do you ever look back, seriously, Danny, and look back and go, holy crap, I did all of this? I mean, doesn't even it impress you?
Well, actually, what it is just like, winning 9 out of 10 games in a football season, and you look back and you're happy you won the 9 games, but the one that counts is the 10th game that's in front of you. And right now, I'm representing Chase Iron Eyes, the 2016 National Democratic Party nominee for the United States Congress in North Dakota, their sole seat in the House of Representatives. He is the only person out of 843 people arrested in opposition to the Dakota Access Pipeline. He's the only one charged with inciting the insurrection against the Dakota Access Pipeline in the state of North Dakota. So I'm up here now, as we speak tonight, up in North Dakota, down 30 degrees below, or 30 degrees, and going lower here tonight, snow on the ground, getting ready. Well, everybody's getting ready to do Thanksgiving. I'm getting ready to do a hearing to make sure that we get discovery in this case, like we did in the Silkwood case, and prove that the Energy Transfer Partners, the pipeline company here, that's a conglomerate of major petroleum corporations, in fact, moved the ideal site for the pipeline, which was 10 miles north of the 92% white North Dakota community of Bismarck, and moved it right down a half a mile from the Great Sioux Nation, right next to the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, and right under their sole source of fresh drinking water. And so we're arguing that required the Lakota people to rise up to build an encampment directly in the pathway of the pipeline construction to stop them from contaminating their sole source of drinking water. And when the police all came and attacked the encampment and to drag the people away, they're charging Chase Iron Eyes with having gone on the internet asking people to come to their aid, to come and sit with them at the encampment to block the pipeline. And they charged him with inciting a riot because when the police attacked the site, someone, and we don't know who that was, someone set a truck on fire.
Right.
And it turns out that the truck happened to be owned by Chase Iron Eyes. So
he set his own truck on fire.
The one that set it on fire.
Right.
It's quite ridiculous.
Last year, I can't even believe it's been a year, but last year you and I sat down, had a bit of lunch together, and we were discussing Standing Rock. And I had said to you then, I listed probably 5 or 10 different things that would never make it into the media about Standing Rock and the corporations and the money and China and where the and you said you're exactly right, Jimmy. It's not the media is ignoring exactly what this is really about. And here we are a year later. All of those things that you and I discussed last year, none of it, not one, made it into the mainstream media.
Yeah, I know. What made it into the mainstream media was when the police attacked all the demonstrators.
Right.
And they had this massive assault, that they had 1,000 fully armed with M16s in body armor and Bearcat armored vehicles with, instead of 50 caliber machine guns, they had these big 1,000-pound per square inch water cannons with stun grenades and tear gas and tasers, and they attacked the people because the Tiger Swan private military security corporation, it was hired by the Energy Transfer Partners Corporation to stop this demonstration. They moved a big vehicle onto this bridge to block them from being able to get up to the site where the pipeline was. And a number of the Oglala from the Red Warrior Society, 12 of the men came out onto the bridge and picked the truck up and started to carry it away. And so the North Dakota State Police and the North Dakota State National Guard and police from 72 different law enforcement agencies from around the 6-state area that had gathered, were fully armed, attacked them and threw stun grenades at them and water cannons, and their video footage went out across the country. That and sicking the dogs on them, to bite them and bite the demonstrators, made the news. Rather than the peaceful protests and the people all praying and gathering in a circle and praying to stop the pipeline, our job has been to move through the court system to try to stop the pipeline because it was violating the Environmental Protection Act. They never undertook half of all of the tests that they were supposed to take. And what happened is Donald Trump came in. We had the pipeline stopped. We had gotten a ruling from the United States Justice Department and the Department of Interior that the pipeline could not lawfully be completed unless they completed a full-scale environmental impact statement. And as soon as Trump was elected and came to office on January 21st, the second thing he did, right after issuing his total ban on the immigrants coming into the country from Muslim countries, the second thing he did was order the setting aside of all the environmental protection rules and regulations and ordered the pipeline to go forward, despite the ruling of the Justice Department, despite the ruling of the Department of Interior, and just overriding all of the laws, because it turns out he was a partner. He is one of the partners in the Energy Transfer Partners. And so was Rick Perry, the man he appointed to be the head of the Energy Department. They were both partners. Rick Perry was, in fact, the vice president of the Sunoco Logistics, one of the partners of the Energy Transfer Partners. This complete lack of regard that Donald Trump and his administration has for the rule of law and for all of the standards of procedure and due process is on display here up in North Dakota. And his disregard for all of the other countries of the world. Now that Syria, too, has joined in the Paris Agreement of 2015, agreeing to cut back on the fossil fuels and petroleum as a source of energy in the world, that he is in absolute defiance of this. He insists that the global climate change is a hoax that has been perpetrated by China to attempt to get the United States to forego the petroleum and coal and oil and natural gas that it has. So that we will be ruined as an industrial nation. I mean, it's just like him saying he had the biggest crowd in the history of any presidential inauguration, or that he won the popular vote in the United States because over 3 million people came in and voted illegally. I mean, it's like a bad dream of just basically asserting things that are in complete disregard for the law, in complete disregard for reality itself. So we're in an extraordinary period. It's a period of testing, much like the people of Germany were confronted by in 1934, when Hitler became Chancellor of Germany and began to issue all of these ridiculous decrees and basically brought the people to a state of war because he thought that they were being insulted and disregarded and had been demeaned by the other people of the world. I mean, this man is a strutting egoist who basically is mentally ill. And both political parties are standing there like deer in the headlight, kind of shifting from one foot to another, allowing him to go around the world, meeting with world leaders, representing the United States, a man who brags openly about groping women and making up facts and declaring bankruptcy and leaving people who he promised to pay, in debt. And this is the guy who now is the standard bearer for the United States. And the Republican Party that is in control of the House Judiciary Committee, that has got the sole power to impeach him, will do nothing. They're sitting in the Senate just ratifying his judges. He's got 157 federal judgeships that the Republicans blocked all during the second administration of Obama. As soon as the Republicans gained control of the United States Senate Judiciary Committee that has to ratify the nominations of judges, that Orrin Hatch became the chairman, and they blocked virtually every single nomination that Obama made in his entire second administration. So they backed up 157 federal judges. And now, when all the hoopla is going on around, about him and collaborating with Russia and interfering in the election and everything, he's quietly going forward nominating young people, a 36-year-old guy who's only been practicing law for 3 years and has never been in a courtroom. He's been nominated to be one of his federal judges, and the Republicans are going to just in lockstep go forward and approve his nomination. Because he's trying to fill the courts with Federalist Society lawyers.
Well, you have been involved with each administration going back to the late 60s, early 70s.
That's right.
And you have looked at and attempted to, and a couple of instances successfully took down an administration or two. But it's not a Republican or a Democrat issue. This is a Washington and a political issue that goes on administration after administration. Trump is just the last one and is once again in the way. But this is something that has been going on in this country for a very long time.
That's right. No, the two-party system, when they locked down on this and basically have convinced everybody in the country to participate in this kind of dialectical worldview. People spend all of their time watching, the National League play the American League in the World Series. They watch, the Oakland Warriors, play the Golden State Warriors, play the Cleveland Cavaliers. They watch the New York Yankees play the Los Angeles Dodgers. They watch Alabama, play Clemson or Auburn. And they're trapped in this dialectic. They're led to believe that the world is made up of two teams, and they have to just get on one side of the team or the other. And so what they've done is they've mirrored that with a, quote, two-party system, so that people believe that no matter who the nominee is of, quote, their party, they have to support them. And that's why you see the Republicans right now who are dyed-in-the-wool Republicans who are refusing to do anything to get rid of Trump. They're refusing to do anything to get rid of Moore, Judge Moore down in Alabama. They've actually been quoted as saying things, if they got a choice between electing a child molester and a Democrat, they would pick the child molester. And they're in the process of doing so. And they've done it already with Trump because he happened to have won the nomination, because the Republican Party was so convinced that Hillary Clinton was going to be the runaway nominee of the Democratic Party, that the Republican Party set up an accelerated process of selecting their nominee. And they set up a rule whereby any candidate who won more votes than anybody else in the primary, even if there were 10 people running in the primary, and the person who got the most only got like 16% of the vote, if the other ones got 12% and 10% and 8%, et cetera, the one who got 16% would be given all the delegates. And so they set up this accelerated process. People don't think about this. That's how Donald Trump won the nomination, because the Republicans had set up this accelerated process of selecting their nominee, whom they, of course, thought was going to be Jeb Bush. But in fact, it was Trump, because there were so many other people in the competition, 13 people at the beginning. And so when Trump actually became the nominee, they found themselves trapped by their own ploy that they had set up to do this. And so they just backed him and went with it, because they wanted to get two things. One, they wanted to get the corporate income tax reduced from 35% a year to 20%. They wanted to get the highest levels of income taxes reduced for the wealthiest 1% of people in the country. And they wanted to get rid of the estate tax, which they called the so-called death tax. And what they really want to do, of course, is they want to disassemble the entire Franklin Roosevelt New Deal post-World War II regime that was run by the Democratic Party that had sort of a social democratic agenda. Because these people are all basic people who are like robber barons, just like the great robber barons from 1868 to 1898,
right?
That in fact established the concept of manifest destiny, the white man's burden, fought the child labor laws, fought the Social Security. They fought against everything because they believe that they're entitled to rule. And the other people just need to get trickle-down benefits from their wealth. And that's what they believe.
Well,
and the Democratic Party is at a loss as to what to do about it.
Well, everybody is. And let me just, let's back up a step here, because this is where things get interesting. And you brought up the robber barons. When it comes to Standing Rock, and again, I don't, as you know, Lou, as you know, Danny, I don't do politics on the show. I do the conspiracy of politics, right? So let's back up here a second. And when it comes to Standing Rock, there is that oil, that pipeline, and what is running through it has nothing to do with the United States or the consumers or bringing down gas prices here. That oil,
not one drop,
is being exported outside of the United States to China and other countries, but basically to China
and Russia,
for their benefit, not for us.
And for the benefit of the stockholders
of the
oil corporations that can get 3 times as much for the oil.
That's what blows my mind. Nobody will talk about that. And that's what's most important here. It's not about, it's what is driving these decisions in Washington. What's driving the Army Corps of Engineers to do what they did in Standing Rock. And to make sure that pipeline was built for the shareholders, not for me, not for my children, not for lower gas prices. And that's the conspiracy. And the media won't touch that part of the story. They will not. It went straight to the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, it's a total lie. I mean are you there?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. The Trump, when he signed the executive order on January 24th of 2017, he declared a state of energy emergency, saying the United States was in an energy crisis. We had to become self-reliant on energy, and he used that as the excuse for setting aside all of these major rules and regulations protecting the environment. And as soon as the pipeline got completed, he stood up and said, well, it turns out we don't really have an energy crisis. What we're going to be doing is sending all this oil down to the Gulf of Mexico and sell it abroad, because we're going to become the dominant energy producing country in the entire world. And what he really meant is he was basically doing everything for the oil corporations. With his Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, being the CEO for ExxonMobil, his energy head, Rick Perry, being the vice president of Sunoco Logistics Oil Corporation. He's got his entire administration riddled with these people. Scott Pruitt, who he made the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, had sued the Environmental Protection Agency 12 times as the Attorney General of Oklahoma, a major oil-generating state, trying to stop the environmental protection laws. And this is as transparent as it can possibly get. And so people keep saying to themselves, gee, how in the world did it ever happen in Germany? From 1932, actually, all the way on through 1942. How could that possibly have happened? And a sophisticated, educated, cultured people, how could they possibly have allowed something like that to happen? Well, they're looking at it right now. They're seeing what fascism looks like. Fascism, the major treatise that were written about it by Mussolini, show that it is the wedding of the instrumentalities of the state with the interests of the corporations, the private corporations that are owned by the stockholders, and they're the ones that benefit from this. And they subsidize the major corporations with tax money. They deploy U.S. military forces in support of the corporations to lay claim to access to their oil. For example, the entire invasion of the Middle East at the end of the Cold War, clearly designed by Bush I, of the great Bush family, was a major invasion and occupation of the Middle Eastern oil fields to keep China from getting access to the oil fields.
Now, I need to jump in.
Evident.
Yeah, I need to jump in. We blew right past a network break because you've got me. You've got me, Danny. Got me sucked in. Okay, let's take a quick break. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Daniel Sheehan. He's up in Standing Rock, and that's what we're talking about right now. He has been retained. We'll be discussing that. Also, the JFK docs were just released. We'll get to all of that tonight. He's one of the best. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Hello, you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Daniel Sheehan. He's up in Standing Rock. He was just retained up there. And I want to get a little bit deeper into this and what is actually going on. And then we're gonna take this conversation far and wide like we always do with Daniel and run out of time once again. But Danny, exactly what I'm sure that inciting a riot isn't the only charge. What else do they have against the chief?
Well, they're charging him, interestingly enough, with trespassing on the property, and they're asserting that the United States government seized this land pursuant to an 1877 Act of Congress, which set aside the treaties of 1851, the Treaty of Fort Laramie in 1868, which expressly acknowledged the sovereignty over this entire territory on the part of the Great Sioux Nation, the Ocheti-Sacoan, Oyate.
Right.
And the Congress just simply got tired of it and issued a decree saying they were going to set aside the treaties and seize the land. And the fact of the matter is the United States Supreme Court in United States versus the Great Sioux Nation in 1980 ruled that that isn't true, that the 1877 Act of Congress had no effect upon transferring title to the United States government. So anybody who purchased that land from the United States government or from someone who purchased it from someone who purchased it from the United States government owns title to the land. Because one of the most basic premises you learn in all property law at Harvard Law School is that no party can transfer a better title to a purchaser than they own. And so the bottom line is that land on which Chase Iron Eyes and the other people were arrested all belongs to the Great Sioux Nation. And so that they cannot be charged with trespassing just because the Dakota Access Pipeline came running in December of 2016 and said that they were going to purchase this land from the white man who said he bought it from the United States government. You know, so the charge of trespass is ridiculous as well. So that they charge the other people with participating in a riot. And what they're really charging them with is having sat down peacefully and locked arms in a circle around a ceremonial fire, doing a traditional Lakota religious ceremony. When the police told them to leave, they refused to unlock their arms. And so the police attacked them and started saying things like, I was forced to punch one of them in the larynx to make him let go. And so therefore violence ensued. And therefore they're engaged in a tumultuous conduct that has resulted in the injury of people. The people who were injured were them by the police. And so that they've charged the people with participating in a riot. They've charged Chase Iron Eyes with inciting the riot simply because he got on the internet and invited people to come to the ceremony.
What about the veterans?
In peace.
Are the veterans getting charged? The veterans that showed up there too in support, are they getting charged?
No.
Just
no. They didn't charge any of them.
Now
they didn't charge any of them.
What do you think as their attorney? I don't know how much you can speak about this freely.
Oh, you know me. I mean, I've never been restrained about telling the people what's really going on in these cases. Well, I'm not going to fall for that one.
Well, what's the end game? Why would they arrest him now, a year later, on these completely weak charges? What's their goal here?
Well, actually, they arrested him on February 1st of 2017, right while the operation was going on. That they've arrested 843 people, and what they've been doing is they've been prosecuting them one after another, and 409 cases have already been dismissed or acquitted, and they still keep on coming. Because they're under the whip hand of the Tiger Swan private military security company that was hired by Energy Transfer Partners. And that the Tiger Swan was founded by a fellow by the name of Jim Reese, who was the head of worldwide anti-terrorism operations for Blackwater International, Eric Prince's major private military that has brigade-sized troops and in fighter planes and Bradley fighting machines and everything, which they hire out to corporations. and even to other foreign countries. It's a purely private corporation that has recruited hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of special forces people who have been trained by the United States with the United States taxpayers' money, deployed to Middle Eastern countries, primarily to seize and to hold the oil corporations, oil wells over there, to protect them from the people themselves who've been rising up and overthrowing the dictators who had been put in place by the Western powers at the end of World War I. At the end of World War I, in 1918, there was a commission, actually in 1922 it was convened, headed up by Winston Churchill, who was then the Minister of Colonial Affairs for the United Kingdom. And they had 22 people on the commission, and what they did is they seized all the land that the Turkish Empire had, the Ottoman Empire, who had become allies with Germany during World War I. And when they lost the war, the Allied powers took all of that land, and the Churchill Commission divided up all of that territory that has been for thousands of years, for 10,000 years, has been tribal land with various tribes in different places. And what they did is they superimposed these boxes called nation-state boundaries around them so they could, in fact, designate one of the tribes to be the new, quote, royal family in that area. And the Western powers would support that royal family, and the head of that royal family would sign a contract to give exclusive oil rights to the Western powers. And so that the Aramco, the Arab American Oil Corporation, the Seven Sisters, the seven major oil corporations, which are, Standard Oil of New Jersey, Standard Oil of California, British Petroleum, Exxon, or Esso at that time, they all got a 60-year exclusive lease agreement to control all the oil, in exchange for which they would give 10% of all the income to that royal family. And that royal family would use the income in part to purchase weapons and military equipment from the Western nations to maintain military dictatorial control over that little box that was created by the Western powers. And they would lord it over all the other tribes, and they would become filthy rich, just like the House of Saud with all of its 1,400 princes, who have, a different Rolls Royce for every day of the week, and, lose $1 million at the roll of dice at Monte Carlo, and go whoring all around Europe. And the regular people of what they call Saudi Arabia, or from the peninsula, hate them. They're all basic Sunni Muslims who are adherents to the Muslim Brotherhood of the fundamentalist religion. And they hate those people. And the same thing is true in Lebanon. The same thing was true in Libya. The same thing was true in all of these fake nation states that were set up by the Western powers at the end of World War I, specifically for the purpose of seizing and controlling the oil for the West. That's what's going on here. And these are the troops that were sent over there by George Bush Sr. as soon as he realized that the Soviet Union was getting ready to dissolve in December of 1991. He had gotten wind of that as early as June of 1990 from the Central Intelligence Agency, and he immediately sent a handwritten note to Saddam Hussein saying, look, you know me because as the head of the CIA from 1975 to 1977, George Bush is one of the guys that supported the rise to power of Saddam Hussein in Iraq. And so he said, you know me here, and now I'm president of the United States, and I'm telling you, I know that you're having a dispute with Kuwait on your southern border, and you think that they're slant drilling under your boundary and taking your Iraqi oil. I just wanted to let you know that I wish you would solve this peacefully, but if you find it necessary to resort to the use of military force, I want you to know that I would not view that as contrary to the long-term best interest of the United States. And so, of course, Saddam Hussein masses on the border, the southern border of Iraq and the northern border of Kuwait. And at that point, George Bush Sr.'s Secretary of Defense, Dick Cheney, in 1990, calls into the West Wing of the White House Prince Bandar, who was the ambassador of the United States in Saudi Arabia, and he says, "Oh look, we have good intelligence information that Saddam Hussein is getting ready to invade Kuwait, and as soon as he does, he's going to go on into Saudi Arabia and oust the House of Saud from power." And so that he then showed them, Dick Cheney showed to Prince Bandar real-time NSA satellite photographs of the military troops of Saddam Hussein massing on the southern border, and said, see, I told you, here's the proof. And so he said, we would like to, if he invades, we would like to come and protect you in Saudi Arabia against him coming in to invade you and overthrow the House of Saud. And he invoked an old secret 1972 treaty that had been signed secretly by Richard Nixon and Henry Kissinger on their way back from their secret mission to China in 1972. In August of 1972, they were in the SR-71 Blackbird, and they landed in Saudi Arabia. They met with King Faisal at that point and made this deal to renew the 60-year exclusive lease agreement. It hadn't expired yet, but Henry Kissinger realized that he wanted to take advantage of this moment, and he and Nixon got King Faisal to re-up the old 60-year exclusive lease agreement, but they would therefore then be allowed to raise the price of gas from 34 cents at the gas pump a gallon up to $1.34. And that extra $1 a gallon, it was going to go to the House of Saud. But they had to agree to use part of it to dredge out harbors in Saudi Arabia, build major landing bases for U.S. Dredge out the channel so they could take U.S. warships. And secondly, build huge landing bases for aircraft for the U.S. and barracks for them. And they had to agree additionally that they would use another portion of that extra $1 a gallon to purchase military equipment strictly from United States military contractors. And thirdly, they would have to agree that if either China or Russia made any type of a feint toward invading and occupying the Middle Eastern oil fields, that Saudi Arabia would call upon the United States to send military troops in to protect them. That was the treaty. But what happened is George Bush Sr. and Dick Cheney in 1990, they cited that treaty to justify Saudi Arabia inviting them to come in to stop Saddam Hussein. It had nothing whatsoever to do with either China or Russia that the treaty addressed, and in fact had been specifically instigated by George Bush Sr. by sending this particular memo to Saddam Hussein. So the whole thing was manufactured. And so that when Saudi Arabia invited the United States to come in, they sent in 250,000 military troops to occupy the place, drove Saddam Hussein back up into Iraq, but didn't leave. Said, we're going to set up a no-fly zone, and it's going to require 250,000 U.S. military personnel full-time on the ground here in the oil fields. And that was the invasion. And that is exactly why Osama bin Laden raised himself up, because Osama bin Laden, catch this, when Dick Cheney went over to Saudi Arabia after Saddam Hussein had in fact invaded and occupied Kuwait, and he said, see, I told you that was going to happen, so will you please invite me to come to Saudi Arabia and meet with King Farouk and Crown Prince Abdullah and see if I can invoke the old 1972 treaty to have them invite us to come in so we can throw out Saddam Hussein. He went over and had that meeting in July of 1990, had that meeting, and when King Farouk and Crown Prince Abdullah were considering whether to do what he wanted or not, the chief of security, Turki bin Faisal, who was the son of King Faisal, who had been the chief of security for the House of Saud for 26 years, basically came into the meeting and he said, look, I know what you're doing here, but please don't do this. Do not invite the infidels to come in, because if they come in here to drive Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait, they won't leave. They're going to occupy the Holy Land. So give me an option. Let me come in and have a meeting with you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock and present an alternative. So the next morning, into a meeting at 10 o'clock comes Faisal, Turki bin Faisal, the chief of security of the House of Saud for 26 years. And he brings with him Mohammed Baroum, who is the heir to the wealthiest family in all of Saudi Arabia. They own all the steel and concrete mills. And he brings with him also Khalil Mahfouz, who is the head of the Saudi Royal Family Bank. And they come in and they say, look, the three of us want you to reject that proposal from the U.S. We have an alternative for this. And they turn, and the door opens, and in comes Osama bin Laden, who is, in fact, the best friend of Turki bin Faisal since the time they were 4 years old, growing up in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And he comes in and says, look, I have 10,000 battle-hardened troops sitting up in the Mujahideen troops sitting
from
up
Afghanistan.
In the Khyber Pass.
Yep.
He just got through kicking the crap out of the Russians in Afghanistan.
Right.
And we'll drive Saddam Hussein back. You don't invite the infidels to come in here, because if you do, they won't leave. And so what happened is Dick Cheney was still there at the palace. He heard about this meeting. He comes back in and has a second meeting with King Farouk and Crown Prince Abdullah, and he says, look, I have a sweetener here for you. That here's what I'm going to do. If you'll invite us to come in to drive Saddam Hussein back up into Iraq, we will not only protect you against Saddam Hussein coming to invade Saudi Arabia, which he never intended to do anyhow, but we'll protect you against your own people, because your own people hate you because of these princes whoring around Europe and everything, and you're living this lavish lifestyle while everybody else is living in poverty, and so we'll protect you against your own people. And that's what sealed the deal. And so King Farouk and Crown Prince Abdullah invited the United States to come in. George Bush Sr. spent a matter of several weeks, soliciting, Australia and Zambia and a few other people to come in to join the coalition of the willing, and they went in and invaded, and they drove Saddam Hussein back up into Iraq, with like no resistance. They were just slaughtering them as they were running away. It was like a bad scene out of Lawrence of Arabia, right?
Right.
And killed them. Right. And then they said, look, we have to stay here and monitor this no-fly zone. And so Osama bin Laden mounted the jihad against them and mobilized not Al-Qaeda or any of these others. It was the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood, has existed since 1922 when the West came in and tried to dominate them. So these are the fundamentalist Islamic people who are trying to drive them out of the place. And the reason that we're there is to secure the oil for the major oil corporations. And now what's happening is the troops that were sent by the United States into the Middle East and have been fighting there since the first Iraq War, back in 1991. They've been fighting there ever since then. They've been training them how to occupy, how to protect oil fields, how to hunt down people that are indigenous tribal people and suppress them. What they've done is they've all started to be hired now by private corporations like Blackwater and Tiger Swan, now by this guy Jim Reese, the head of anti-terrorism for Blackwater, and they've set up Tiger Swan. They've now been hired by the major oil corporations here in the United States to protect their oil pipelines. That's what we're looking at right now. And so they have characterized Chase Iron Eye as a religiously motivated, anti-Christian, anti-capitalist, religiously motivated, indigenous, jihadist terrorist. And that language comes directly from their internal documents, which we have, and we're going to get a lot more of. That they have transplanted the entire war mentality of invasion, occupation, and destroying the tribal cultures of people. And they focused on the Native American people here in the United States because they view them to be the most vulnerable and the most politically powerless people in the country. And so what they're doing is they're trying to build the pipeline through their reservations. That's what's happening here. People need to really grasp what's going on up here in Standing Rock.
Yeah, exactly. And it's indicative of so many different situations that are going on around the world at the same time. I do want to ask you this. Now, we've got 4 minutes before the break. The recent arrest of the Saudi princes and their corruption, anti-corruption investigation panel that they have put together. And then we had the helicopter crash right after that on the border with Yemen. What do you think is going on there?
Well, as you know, Jimmy, I don't get paid to guess.
Okay.
what I do is I get retained to investigate. And we that's happened in the Silkwood case, it happened in the Iran-Contra case, it happened, in the Greensboro massacre case, it happened in the American Sanctuary Movement case. When we get retained, I say get paid to, I don't get paid anything. We raise the funds through our institute to do the investigations. I make it a point not to guess.
Right.
I know only what other people know right now. But the fact of the matter is, I happen to have the capacity, the team, the people with the experience to know how to investigate these things and to find out what's really happening. And it's our opinion that it's necessary to direct our attention right now up here to Standing Rock, because this is the template. This is the template that the Trump administration, the oil administration, the petroleum industry, the fossil fuel industry is making its stand against the rest of the people of the world. All 180 other nations that joined in the Paris Agreement of December of 2015 have resolved that they're going to cut back significantly on the use of fossil fuels because it's destroying the environment. And people can see it happening. The massive hurricanes in Texas and Louisiana, the massive hurricanes and they're going on down in Florida and all through the Caribbean. The record-breaking temperature changes with massive northern cold fronts moving down across the United States. This has all been specifically predicted by 99.9% of all the world scientists. And what happens is that the oil corporations hire the same phony scientists that used to tell people that cigarette smoking couldn't be proven to cause cancer.
Right.
The same exact companies they're hiring to do the statistics for them to try to prove that they can't prove beyond any reasonable doubt that global climate change is happening. And so that's what's happening right here. And the people have to realize, take the lesson of the people in Germany from 1932 to 1942. Take the lesson to understand how it can happen. It can happen here because that's what fascism is. It's the alliance between the privately owned corporations with the tools of the government, the instrumentalities of government power. And that's exactly what's happened. It's exactly what happened during the robber baron era. From 1868 to 1898, it rose to its highest levels in 1898 with the election of President McKinley, and the takeover of the Hawaiian Islands, Guam, the Cuban invasion, the Spanish-American War, instigating the Mexican War. All of that was undertaken under the robber barons to try to lay claim to additional resources for the major businesses that were owned. And at that time, the catbird seat was a group called Brown Brothers Harriman. Brown Brothers Harriman was a private investment firm in New York City. The private investment people included John D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, E.H. Harriman, a whole series of some 50 men who were these major robber barons. And the CEO of Brown Brothers Harriman was George Herbert Walker.
Now, there's where we need to take a break. Let's do that right now. Our guest tonight, Daniel Sheehan, one of the smartest. Thank you so much, Danny. Stay right there. More with Daniel Sheehan right after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and this is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. And last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Daniel Sheehan. And this is where things for me get very strange. Let me explain. And Danny, I'm going to start here because this is where we're going to tie it all together. We're going to start here. What is your definition of disclosure?
That I do not believe that the federal government or any of its agencies are in fact going to do any kind of one single announcement of saying, oh, look, we've been hiding all this information from you for all these years. We have finally decided it's time to tell you all. That there's a process that's been going on down for at least the last 75 years, which is the impossibility of stopping the information from leaking out, no matter how hard they try to suppress it. There are individual people inside different organizations that leak pieces of it. There are individual witnesses who come forward later. All of them are not credible. There's a whole bunch of people who, because they have been pushed to a position of distrusting the United States government so much for entirely good reasons, that have to do primarily with the creation of a national security state at the end of World War II and the creation of the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, et cetera, where they make it a professional point of pride to deceive people. That the fact is that the government and its institutions have lost fundamental credibility. And so the problem is that there are some people who want to take advantage of that, and they come in and every single piece of rumor, every single piece of fabricated information that is designed to make it more sensational, they tend to believe. And so there's that one whole group of people who think that they're going to participate in personally exposing the existence of an extraterrestrial civilization and the fact that they're visiting here on the planet. And it's going to be them as a champion that's going to do this. And there's another whole set of people who believe that the United States government is going to eventually come forward and reveal it. I don't believe that either one of those things is going to happen. I don't think that it's going to be some one individual that gets uniquely believed. It has a much more credible story than anybody else of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that have told these stories. And I don't believe that any administration is going to come forward and reveal what the secret information is that's known by the United States Air Force and the CIA and the FBI and others. So I don't think that the disclosure like that is in fact going to happen. I think personally, my own personal opinion is that the method by which this is going to happen is that with the discovery of more and more of these exoplanets and the discovery that there is now 5 times more star systems just in our own Milky Way galaxy than we at one time thought, and that there's 100 times more star systems in galaxies in the universe than we thought before, that what's going to happen is we're going to be discovering with the newer and newer telescopes. The Webb telescope is going out next year. We've got the major telescopes up there now with the Hubble and the others. And what's going to happen is they're going to start saying, oh, look, much to our surprise, we've discovered that water exists on other planets, which they, for a long time, following the scientific logical positivist paradigm of not believing anything unless you can see it and taste it and smell it and weigh it right now.
Right.
And we won't admit it's true. Now they're admitting it's true. So there's water. Then they're going to start discovering on some moon of some distant star system, one of the planets in the Goldilocks zone, they're going to discover that there is some kind of primitive single-cell vegetation of some sort underneath some ice-covered lake on this moon, and then they're going to go step by step, opening up the recognition that there is life elsewhere in the universe, and they're going to eventually come to a point where they find very primitive aquatic life. And they're going to find primitive land life, and then they're going to find more and more complex land life, and they're eventually going to acknowledge that there is some kind of a primitive, intelligent type of being on some other planet, and they're going to roll this out like over the next 100 years or so, and then they're going to say, and they will have gotten people acclimated. The Catholic Church is already, as you know, I've talked about this at the International UFO Congress before, when I was chief counsel to the United States Jesuit Order in Washington, D.C. I've gone and sat down with the director of the Pontifical Observatory, Father Funes, and we've discussed this in great detail. And he is, at the present time, teaching the first university-level course down at the university in Argentina, the Jesuit University. He is teaching the first course on the philosophical, theological, the philosophical, theological, and spiritual import of the discovery of extraterrestrial intelligence. So the process has started already to try to work this into the culture through the major institutions. The religious institutions are talking about this now. The scientific community is talking about it. The military, of course, still has the same job that they were assigned to maintain this dialectical, confrontational, protectivist kind of attitude. So they keep thinking in terms of any kind of a military type of way of protecting ourselves against them as potential enemies, because that is their assignment from the wealthy elite who own the resources of the country. That's the job they've assigned to the military, is to protect the nation state as an institution that exists for the benefit of the wealthy. So that they're going to be viewing the whole thing from that dialectical, defensive kind of posture. You remember the old Sufi saying that when a pickpocket meets a saint, all he sees are his pockets.
Well,
that's how the military perceives this.
Well, and they are going to continue this until we are out of fossil fuels, until that money that drives the New World Order. They are sitting on technology right now that they haven't figured out a way to profit off of it. You can't profit off of free energy, right? And so this is going to continue for the foreseeable future, because no government can admit the existence of extraterrestrial life or contact or ET technology because they would have to say to the world that they could have saved us all at one point, but they decided to make money instead.
Well, but you need to be clear, Jimmy. That they can get away with an awful lot. As Trump says, he could walk down Fifth Avenue right now and shoot somebody down, and no one would do anything to him about it. And that they're demonstrating this over and over again because we have not successfully educated our people to be adequately self-reliant and non-dependent upon authority figures, primarily because the major schools in the United States are all run by the state. And so they train the kids to be completely loyal they stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag each day. They tell them to go to the churches. Churches tell them to respect authority. So everybody's waiting passively for the government institutions to tell them something or to tell them what's okay. But at the same time, they're now developing this deep underlying distrust of the institutions, and so they're in a state of confusion. That's what's happening right now, is the people raised to believe in authority, but now distrusting that authority are in a quandary. And that's a very dangerous situation, because that's the kind of situation where a person like Hitler or Donald Trump or another who would be more proficient at it, rises to power and has the gall to say things like, I'm the only one that can save us, that I'm the most brilliant. I know more than the generals. I can make these decisions. The good fortune is that nobody believes this guy, right now. But if someone were more persuasive, this could have been an extraordinarily dangerous period. It's very dangerous right now because of the instability. But a lot of people, with all kinds of good reasons, are glad to see some instability, because the stable situation that obtained prior to this time, that would have been continued by Hillary Clinton winning the presidency, is that millions of people a year are starving to death. Global climate change is running rampant. The government isn't planning to agree to restrict the global climate change to a significant degree. So that the standard way of life up to Trump came in was running us right over the cliff, And so what he's done is he's thrown a monkey wrench into the whole thing. He's like rolled a grenade into the tent, and it's generated a great deal of disequilibrium. So the question really is the progressive community going to be able to mobilize and to set forth concrete, practical alternatives to these kind of ridiculous, reactionary, right-wing, corporate-oriented policies of the Trump administration? Are they going to be able to mobilize the progressive caucus inside the Congress of the United States? There's some 74 members of it now. They come from congressional districts around the country, primarily that have universities in those, where the people actually read books and understand history, and that they need to organize and set forth a genuinely progressive and constructive set of programs and put them into a platform. And they need to proffer that platform to both the Republican Party and to the Democratic Party together to say, look, this is what we really need to do. Here are the concrete solutions. Everybody knows that there needs to be a single-payer health system in the country. The health system is completely out of control. The effort on the part of the Clinton and Obama administration to, enrich the insurance corporations in the pharmaceutical industry, in the medical industry, by basically sucking profits and tax money out of the people and paying those wealthy institutions is not the solution. People know what the solution is to have everybody be on Medicare. And so that, people can get remedial help ahead of time, so they don't have to have catastrophic illness before they get something done. That there are clear solutions to this. There are clear solutions to the environment. There's alternative sources of energy. Clearly, the private corporate sector is not going to develop those and make those available to the people until they can figure out how to monopolize it. They're not going to do that. That private industry doesn't work that way. So that there has to be a social democratic solution to this, and it may require an additional party, a third party. It's clear that the Republican Party is on the brink of splitting right now. That there's going to be probably a reactionary, hardcore, right-wing About 25 to 28% of the voters are going to go into that. There's another merely conservative party, which is a kind of regular Republican party. Then there is the new, more moderate Democratic Party, which is the Richard Gebhardt Democratic Leadership Conference type of Clinton, new, more moderate Democratic Party, the post-Franklin Roosevelt era, a party that wants to form partnerships with business and help privatize things. But there is a progressive movement that has been led by Bernie Sanders and a lot of other people who want to have a modern social democratic system, which gives everybody the right to vote and participate, have a much better education system, a much better health system. This is what's in the offing now, but something has to be done fairly quickly because leaving Donald Trump in office is a disaster right now.
Well, there's also the way that Tom DeLonge has put together his company, to the stars with shareholders to release some of this free energy, anti-gravity technology into the private sector, which is exactly what you're suggesting here. Are you suggesting that Tom DeLonge is on the right path?
Well, I'm saying that there are several different alternative ways. I mean, everybody get on board with the best ideas that we have to try to do this. We know what doesn't work, and the institutions and the structures are hanging on to those tried and disproven theories already. So that we need to reach back and try to step forward in good faith, talk with other people about ideas or creative ideas, and have a combination of the private sector, but not corporations. We've got to get rid of corporations. Corporations didn't even exist in the United States until 1877. This newly created business vehicle pursuant to which the owners of all the property in a company basically become stockholders and own a percentage of it, and they're totally immunized against any liability for anything the company does. And the board of directors are completely immunized. The management is completely immunized privately for any liability. The only liability runs to the corporation, which runs solely to the assets that happen to be in the bank of the corporation at the time they're sued. And so they bring in lawyers and they set up all kinds of shell organizations and hide their resources and assets. This is a terrible idea. All this is designed to do is enrich 0.1% of the people of the world. We've got to do away with corporations. If people want to have a business, a private business, a partnership, as long as they're responsible for what it is they do, they're responsible for the collective decisions they make. They're responsible for any damages that are caused by their product. And they have to pay the damages. That's the way the common law system has been designed. But the corporation is designed to circumvent that and to get rid of that type of liability, which is the natural check on bad conduct. So we've got to get rid of the corporations. The Libertarian Party has it as one of its major planks in its party platform for years, until 4 years ago, when they removed it. But they should put that back in. And there are all kinds of solutions that can be put forward from the private business sector of businesses and people and private entrepreneurs who are willing to accept responsibility in exchange for the benefit they get of getting to have a reasonable reward for their ingenuity and entrepreneurial skills. That's perfectly fine. But we all have to get on board this thing and realize that we've got to mobilize now. We cannot stay rigidly attached to a whole bunch of mythology that attaches to each of the two major political parties, and disdain everybody in the other party. What we've got to do is have possibly 3 or 4 political parties that mobilize and have a genuine progressive political party in the United States that sets forward a whole set of programs, and then we'll get a government in which the cabinet is divided up among different people who specialize in different areas. The head of the environment will be part of a party that's like a Green Party that cares about that kind of stuff. There'll be, the people that care about business will be in charge of the Commerce Department, et cetera. And you have a coalition cabinet, and a person who's president, not some imperial president who swaggers around and impresses somebody because either he thinks he's a great businessman or he's particularly eloquent, or he, it looks like he's from Camelot. That's not healthy. What you do is you have a president who functions as a person, an executive officer that executes the policies that have been arrived at by compromise and coalition among these people. The reason people are avoiding doing that is because it doesn't enable the government to be as powerful and as aggressive and as militaristic and as imperialistic as they have wanted the United States to be since back in the era of the robber barons.
Well,
we've got to step back away from that imperial vision of the United States.
But this has been talked about and proposed for 400 years all around the world. There have been many civil uprisings and dethronings and trying to remove monarchies and it all the way through to why the United States was even created in the very beginning because of all of this repression. And there is something in the background, Daniel, as well, as well as I do, that has thwarted every effort of this. This isn't anything new with this generation or this administration. This has been going on forever. Somebody is pulling the strings back there that wants the exact opposite of everything that you are talking about here.
Well, it is true. It is true that people who find themselves blessed by particularly high levels of intelligence, attractiveness, articulate disposition, etc., people tend to gravitate to them. And if a person is selfish, they will utilize those particular blessings to try to gain unfair advantage over other people. And that there's a tiny percentage of people who can rise to the top and become leaders. But if you look at the top 0.1% of the people in the world right now that control, right now 3 people in the world possess more wealth than the bottom 50% of everybody in the world. And you look at these people, and it isn't because they're particularly gifted or ingenious. What they've done is they've learned how to manipulate a system to extract a benefit for themselves. And so that what we need to do is we need to, if you'll forgive me for saying so, this is a spiritual problem. This is a spiritual problem. People need to understand what true spirituality is, or what the capabilities are of our human body to be able to increase the energy systems in our body that have an effect upon our consciousness, to have a proper diet, to have proper meditation, to engage in proper care for your body, etc. And this is part of the spiritual practice. The Buddhists and the Hindus have recognized this. The monks all know this. These are things that we have to really begin to share with people so that we can have a healthier populace. This effort on the part of the corporations to dumb people down and to feed them crap and fast foods and turn them into commercial beasts where the only value they think they really have is in what they own and how much possessions they can gain. I mean, in fact, Pope Francis talked about this in his encyclical on global climate change in June of 2015. He said that if there's been this conscious effort on the part of the transnational corporations and their financial supporters to basically convince the people that there is no value system in the world that is really predicated upon any kind of absolute values, and that everything is relative, and it's this whole postmodern philosophy, he said, that is designed to cause people to believe that they have no absolute basis for valuing themselves other than what they own or what they can consume, and that this is in fact being consciously promulgated on the part of transnational corporations so that they can have markets for their material goods. And he talks about it. It's specific. I would surprise everybody who's listening to just recommend that you go on the internet and pull up Pope Francis's encyclical, his June of 2015 encyclical on global climate change. And what he says is, look, he's not saying that every single aspect of the global climate change is caused by mankind, but the substantial portion of it is. And that this is being caused by transnational corporate capitalism and its financial institutions, most of which are owned by the same people. And that this postmodern view of absolute aimless relativism and the need to consume things in order to feel of any value at all is a process that's going to destroy the world, because it makes it absolutely essential for the corporations to continue to consume the natural resources of the world to feed the maw of this type of a machine. And it's going to destroy the world. Now, all species don't survive. The dominant species on every planet in the universe don't survive. It's not necessary that our species is destined to survive. We may have such primal drives and selfish fears that drive us that we will not survive. I happen to think that if we take care and care for each other and share our values and take care of our health and assist others in taking care of their health, that's why this single-payer health system is so important, because it can make available, for example, the kind of products that you're talking about on your show. That you at one and the same time try to challenge these major dark, sinister forces, and try at the same time to tell people about health benefits that they can have. That this is the exact same thing I'm talking about here. That you have to understand that there are people who form combinations. For example, I was talking about Brown Brothers Harriman that actually existed, back at the end of World War I. That particular operation, the Brown Brothers Harriman, the CEO of which was George Herbert Walker. Remember, the lawyer for Brown Brothers Harriman was Allen Dulles. And that's how Allen Dulles ended up being made the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, because the Central Intelligence Agency was created at the end of World War II primarily to protect the major capitalist interests of the people who had won the war, to have them be able to establish an institution that could combat the threat of world socialism that was being promulgated by the Bolshevik Revolution back in its idealistic days, back before it was taken over by Stalin in Beria. That whole idealistic theory of socialism in the world that never got a chance to really figure out how to get itself institutionalized and structured to be helpful to the world, because it got caught in the same fundamental dialectic, which shouldn't be too big a surprise, because Marx, who was one of the major progenitors of that entire system, believed in Hegelian dialectics as the mechanism by means of which history unfolds. So that it may have been inevitable that runs into this, falls prey to this dialectic of the East versus the West, and capitalism versus socialism, and all of that. But we have to transcend that. I would look to the model, actually, of the Chautauqua movement. The Chautauqua movement raised itself up back in 1877 and 1878 in response to the rise of the robber barons. And it was formed up by the United Board of Homeland Ministries of the United Methodist Church, actually. And they set up the Chautauquas, where people would come and sing and talk and share poetry and travel around the country in these big tents, and stuff. And Elizabeth Cady Stanton and the suffragettes all campaigned there. Harriet Beecher Stowe was there. They had Clarence Darrow and others that Eugene Debs. This generated the American labor movement. It generated the American suffrage movement for women's right to vote. It generated the anti-child labor laws. It generated the first environmental movement. It generated the post-Civil War civil rights movement. All of this came out of the Chautauqua movement from 1877 up to 1915.
I got to I got to jump in right here, Dan. Yeah, I got to jump in and take a break. I've got a network break. We just ran right past it. Our guest tonight, Daniel Sheehan. This is Fade to Black. Yeah, we're talking about that New World Order. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Nothing more volatile than talking about the New World Order and who is really doing these things to us on this planet. It's incendiary, no doubt about it. Our guest tonight is Daniel Sheehan. And Danny, this is I want your opinion. I want your thought on this. When we talk about different contactees and the messages that we get from ET and that they can't disclose themselves or reveal themselves until we grow up here and we need to get our stuff together. This is what I find the most fascinating is we have 7.5 billion people on this planet. 3 billion are penniless. that are living at a poverty level that we just cannot comprehend. Those that are listening to the show cannot. And if we went to some of these slums around the world and went up to some of these people that were digging through trash, trying to survive the next day, and asked them about ET or the ET question or disclosure, they wouldn't know what we are talking about. They wouldn't have any, so how do we fix that issue? How do we fix the 3 billion people on this planet and get them to understand about the awakening and the enlightenment that we are referring to daily in our community? I think that's the biggest stumbling block that we have in front of us. And the 0.1% could wave their hand and fix everything on this planet. Fix it immediately with spare cash and not even affect their income flow. How do we reveal that to those 3 billion people?
Well, one of the major two things that I would say in response to that is that of the other 4.5 billion who have access to some resources, and the 2 billion people, the half of those who have access to really fairly sophisticated resources and education and everything else, and they still have trouble figuring out how you integrate into their worldview the existence of extraterrestrial life. The spectrum of worldviews that our human family has developed, the 7 major worldviews that run from right to left, at least in the political manifestation of them, from authoritarianism to reactionaryism to conservatism to moderates to liberals to progressives to utopianists. These 7 major worldviews, all of them are predicated upon the assumption that our human species is at the apex of all biological evolution. And they have not, in fact, integrated into that worldview the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence. All of their mythologies and everything else place themselves at the apex of all biological evolution. So we have first to figure out how it is that we can get the people who are adequately educated and adequately well-informed and have some kind of a sophisticated sense of a worldview to really look toward the development of a new 8th paradigm worldview that really integrates our human species into a potential galactic civilization where there are different planetary systems who have entirely different levels of economic and technological development, levels of consciousness, etc. So that until we know how to develop that type of a worldview where the most educated and most sophisticated people can grasp it, we aren't going to be able to know how to communicate that information to a group of people which, in addition to being poverty-stricken and poorly nourished, have virtually no access to education. Now we have to be careful of being culturally, biased here, because some of the truly primitive people of the world, African tribes and Aboriginal people, etc., have very sophisticated spiritual lives, and they have a very highly developed intuitive system where they're able to instinctively understand and grasp fundamental principles. And in fact, a substantial portion of these primitive cultures who are registered as among the poorest economically in the world, in fact, explicitly acknowledge the existence of extraterrestrial civilization. And they have myths about it. They talk about it. The Aboriginal people of Australia, for example, have all kinds of information about the Star people. There are African tribes that John Mack, who I used to represent as his lawyer, who was the head of the Department of Clinical Psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, has interviewed dozens and dozens of people from Africa and African tribes who have detailed discussions in their culture about the existence of spacefaring beings. So that it isn't a one-to-one a separation of the people who are economically poor, who don't understand anything about extraterrestrial civilization. For example, if you take the 3,033 counties in the entire United States, and you take the 11 poorest counties in the entire United States, 7 of those are on the reservations in the state of South Dakota.
Right. Hey, Danny. Danny, can you switch back off of speaker and go to direct?
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I'm back.
There we go.
You're getting the feedback. Yeah. So the Lakota people, who are the poorest of all the people in the entire United States, in fact, have a very detailed and sophisticated understanding of extraterrestrial life. They, in fact, believe that their ancestors come from the Pleiades, and that they came from the Pleiades down through a vibrational tunnel down into the Black Hills, the caves, the wind caves in the Black Hills, and they came up out of the ground from the Black Hills, out of the wind caves, and they've got a very sophisticated understanding of this. So that I don't think that's the exact problem. As I say, I think that the development of a new worldview that enables us as a species to accommodate the reality of the fact that we may well not be the apex of all biological evolution. The challenge that we have is that, as we know, historically, whenever a much more sophisticated technological culture encounters a more primitive technological and cultural community, such as modern explorers discovering some tribe deep in the jungles of the Amazon or in Africa that has never had any contact with the outside world, within a matter of a few short years, that primitive culture is completely destroyed. And that we have to guard against that with our human culture. We don't want our entire human civilization and culture to collapse, finding ourselves in the face of some vastly more sophisticated technological culture that may even be spiritually more advanced than we, and all of a sudden we lose all hope. We lose all sense of value. So we have to have a process by means of which we start to come to grips with this and start to prepare ourselves as a human species to take our appropriate place in the cosmic order of things. And the problem is, right now, there seems to be such a potential gap between where we are right now collectively and where these much more sophisticated civilizations are that have developed superluminal travel and intergalactic travel and all of that, that it would be so traumatic for us to take, for example, I mean, the average person, as you know, I've talked with at least 100 people whom I've checked out and verified to my satisfaction are completely honest and sincere about their direct encounter with extraterrestrial beings. And instantaneously, our entire cellular structure recoils. The instant, it's almost like a total gag reflex. You know, if you put your finger down somebody's throat, they're going to gag no matter what. It's kind of built in. Our autonomic nervous system kind of reacts. And that's what happens when people encounter an extraterrestrial being. They're so staggered and stunned because our culture has been so poorly preparing them for this that their whole body is traumatized. And it takes them a substantial amount of time to get over this thing. And John Mack and I were very much engaged at the time before he was killed in 1994, and he got run down by a drunken taxi cab driver in London,
right.
You know, by an accident. That he and I were working on helping to train people who were repeated experiencers, who had repeated abduction experiences, to be trained in holotropic breathing by Stanislav Grof, and to train them to calm themselves down and get into a deep kind of centered state when they realized that one of these abduction experiences was getting ready to happen again to them. And it proved to be quite successful with a couple of the people. We were basically trying to train people to be ambassadors So I mean, that's a thing that's and there's a lot of that kind of work going on, the CE5 work of trying to develop a percentage of people who at least think if they go out in the middle of a field and they flash their laser lights and stuff like this. Obviously, if an extraterrestrial craft came and landed right next to them, half of them would pass out. But the fact of the matter is, they're trying. They're trying to get themselves prepared for this. And Father Funes is teaching the course down at the university in Argentina right now. And there are a number of these things going on right now. So there's a process underway. The Catholic Church is involved in it. I have actually participated in making a presentation to all 54 of the major religious denominations in the United States, their social ministry offices back in Washington, back in 1977, recommending that they set up a task force to actually begin the process of getting people to be prepared for this type of a discovery, so that we can formulate a systematic and thoroughgoing sense of ourself and our place in the universe that doesn't require us being the most sophisticated and consciously evolved species in the entire universe. So that's the process, I think, that really has to happen. And as we become more and more conscious of who we really are and understand what consciousness is all about, we will begin to start to try to take care of these other people. I don't mean to be patronizing about it, but we'll share resources, we'll share technology, we'll share educational resources with people around the world. And this 3 billion people who live in abject poverty will come to be integrated more fully and thoroughly into our culture. But these are the indicia, the actual practical evidence of the level of consciousness of our species. So it's not surprising that some civilization that has the potential technological state of development that might be, we're not certain, but might be accompanied by a corollary level of consciousness of their people, would view us as extraordinarily primitive. It's like coming upon a whole community of baboons or something in the middle of a jungle, and you don't just walk up to them and say, "Here, come and join our culture. Come and put on a suit and come and join us in downtown London." That doesn't work. So there's a process that we need to go through, I think. And there are a percentage of us, a growing percentage of us in the human family who spend a more and more significant portion of our time attempting to do this raising of consciousness. We deal with the conspiracies that abound with regard to this elite who try to lord it over us all the time. We try to educate people. We try to develop tools by means of which we can do this through constitutional beliefs, fundamental natural law rights, fundamental rights that people have, trying to organize certain types of communities and structures where we can foster and promote these values. And you do that to a great extent on your show. I mean, that's what we're all doing here, trying to raise people's consciousness. Not to suggest that we're, super elevated in consciousness, but we at least know what the issue is, and we're all trying to work at that. And that's part of why it is people keep saying, how in the world is it you keep ending up in these places that you do? How do you get to be the legal counsel for the New York Times in the Pentagon Papers case? How do you get to be the one that started the case that established the right of unmarried people to have access to birth control? Why are you the lawyer that established the right of journalists to protect their confidential news sources?
Right.
How did you get to be the lawyer that stopped the construction of all private nuclear power plants? Because I try to approach each of these opportunities from a place of consciousness and try to share with the jury and with the judges and with the people that are involved in these types of social debates about these issues, to get them to come to a higher place of consciousness and try to improve the lot of our people as a whole. And that's the reason I'm here at Standing Rock right now, freezing my bird off here up in the North Woods, while everybody else is getting set to go to have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. Now, all of the studies and reports that have been done in the past have all clearly stated that ET reveals himself and the UFO answers are given to us, then the world collapses. Religions, the economy, anarchy in the streets.
You have to look at who those studies are being done by.
Well, that's true.
They're being done by institutions that are funded by the very elite whose interest it is to keep the system stabilized and not to have it disrupted by some major event like that. So those studies are not particularly valid. That the reality of it is that the churches and the houses of worship and the spiritual communities who are trying to deal, some far less better than others, but are attempting to deal with the issue of human consciousness. That's the place of insertion where you need to work at people's consciousness. And as people become more and more conscious, they're more and more capable of appreciating and understanding the existence of an extraterrestrial civilization and our relative place in the universe. So it is true. You can't just drop this on people because the fact of the matter is the major transnational corporations and their financial institutions are working day and night at trying to dumb people down, and to make them believe that they have to buy and sell and consume things and sit and watch sporting events, on television of A team versus the B team, the blue team versus the red team, chasing a ball up and down the field, or sticking it in a hoop.
Well, the Romans did that, the Romans did that 2,000 years ago.
That's exactly right. Bread and circuses, and so that, what we have to do is we have to figure out how, through our process of educating people and sharing spiritual values and spiritual insight and historical patterns so people can understand, it's a vocation. It's a mission that we're on, that all of us are on, and trying to help the rest of our human family, including ourselves, rise to higher and higher levels of consciousness. I mean, I'm certainly no paragon of this. I mean, when I'm sitting across the table at a deposition from the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, down in Greensboro, North Carolina, whose people have come in and gunned down, 6 doctors who are merely attempting to have a clinic for the workers in the textile mills to train them to know about brown lung disease from inhaling the dust from cotton. And the Klan comes in and guns them down because they're trying to organize a union, a chapter of the Amalgamated Clothing and Textile Workers, so they can educate their workers about brown lung disease. That I'm tempted to jump across the table and grab him by the throat and throttle him right there. I mean, it's true. And I have failed on any number of occasions. In the face of temptations like that, where I've gotten extremely irritated, I've insulted them, I've become arrogant and self-righteous in the face of these people, and then I turn and look at the thing, look at this fellow, the kind of level of education he's had, the culture he's been raised in, the kind of trauma that he suffered in his life, and it's caused him to be the way he is, and I don't pretend to be real good at it. We have models, of Mahatma Gandhi and the Buddha and Jesus and others who have done this. And there are people who live among us, who are very spiritually evolved and very loving and very caring. So the trick is to have more and more and more people become like this. And, I myself look to a lot of those people to try to see if I could possibly be anywhere near as good as they are at this. And I keep being given these great opportunities of being placed in the middle of these major confrontations. Here, the latest one between the major fossil fuel industry and their paramilitary, private special forces trained private military corporations that are trying to crush, the poorest people in the United States. To put oil pipelines directly under their sole source of drinking water, it's, you would think that it's so transparent on the face of it is an unjust activity, that what I've got to be able to do is select 12 people from this community and have them in a jury box and put the information in front of them and get them to have the opportunity to make the choice on behalf of fairness and justice and caring and compassion for the people here, not for the people who own the stock in these oil corporations that are threatening to destroy the world. Those are, to be able to have an opportunity to get to attempt that is an absolute blessing and a privilege, which I'm in awe every day that I'm given an opportunity to get to do it.
Thank you so much, Danny, for coming on tonight. It's always just an amazing, amazing conversation, and you know it, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.
I think it's great. I love talking with you, Jimmy.
You're the best.
I love getting to talk to the people who listen to your show. They're terrific folks.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the best. And now keep us posted on everything that's going on in Standing Rock. You've got your work cut out for you, but the good will always prevail, and you usually do. So thank you so much, Danny. Be safe.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Be safe and stay out of the cold, okay?
Absolutely. I'll do that. Thank you, Jimmy. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Danny. Thank you so much. Danny Sheehan, everybody. Now, his website is the RomeroInstitute.org. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And you can go and visit. All of the knowledge is right there. Danny Sheehan, absolutely the very best. One of the smartest in the world. There is no question about it. I'm going to get out of here. When I come back, I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. I got some other stuff I'm going to cover. I always do. And I got some iPhone 8 updates, too, with the conspiracy of cracking one of those phones. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back. Thank you, Danny Sheehan, the very best. I'll be right back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter, but listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Gobekli Tepe.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger You know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Danny Sheehan. One of the best, man. One of the smartest. Listen to this show a couple of times, all of you. Now, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. And a couple of thoughts. Okay, phone lines are open, and if you're on hold, stay right there. 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. And a couple of thoughts really quick, and I just want to lay this out. Always remember that this show, if we cannot talk freely and listen and absorb and appreciate all views, then we can't talk anywhere. That's what this show is about. That's what this community is about. And I was watching some of the tweets going on out there, and the point with all of that, when I'm watching reactions, it's just like, wait a minute here. Since when do we have closed minds? Since when? This community does not. And that's it. That's it. We listen to everybody. And the one thing, the one person, the one thought that you can learn from is the one that you don't agree with. Think about that for a second. That's where knowledge starts and expansion starts. If you are listening to somebody that you agree with, then what's the point? On any subject. Now, referring back to Danny here directly, always remember that if you are going to expand and move forward in life, then you need to listen to all points of view. If you want to stagnate, if you want to stop where you are, if you want to take a step backwards, which is totally up to you, then just listen to people that you agree with. Then there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's nothing to learn from. And that's the point of this show. And that's why I fully engage. I don't agree with every guest that's on the show. I don't agree with 100% of everything. I don't. And that's what I enjoy. You know, if you ever are invited over to our house for a dinner, we strategically plan who is going to be at that table. I want different points of view. I want arguments. I want conversation. I want enlightenment. Because if you're just going to sit around and talk about things that everybody disagrees, it's boring and it's a short-lived conversation. You're sitting there twiddling your thumbs very, very quickly. Okay, that's how you move forward. And that's why, man, I just sit here and I listen to Danny and I just enjoy myself. Just enjoy myself. Just a smart guy. That's it, man. Just a smart guy. All right, with that, let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi.
Hi, who's this? Hello. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Debbie from Sacramento.
Hey, Debbie from Sacramento. How are you?
Hi. Good. Boy, Jimmy, I'll tell you, what you just said was what I wanted to talk about. I was getting triggered in anger at some of the stuff he was saying. And then it's like, wait a minute, back up. Commercial comes on. Take 10, take a breath. You're never going to learn anything if you don't listen to everything. And that's what I love about your show. So I put into practice what you just said. And I'm so glad I did, because 70% of what he continued with, I totally agreed with. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And then the major thing is, with Thanksgiving coming up, you get together with your family, you're going to sit around and talk. Of course, that's a perfect opportunity to share your points of view, which are, controversial. But if you're going to get triggered at things that they say, which may not agree with what you say, it's perfect practice for, if you can't show them respect and not get triggered in anger, and you need to open yourself up, they're not going to show you the same respect and be open to what you have to share.
Yeah, and this is, and you're absolutely right. And nothing is better than a good Thanksgiving fight anyway, right? And that's guaranteed to happen. And we do it every year. We plan the Thanksgiving dinner. We know it's going to go down, and that's part of the enjoyment of it. And if you can't talk freely, then there you go. That you can never stop that point. But the other thing is this: when I often asked, how did we get to the point where people are triggered and are angry? Wait a minute. The reason this country is so great is that we have different ideas, different people putting things together and discussing things. That's what, if everybody wants to lose sight of that, then we have got some real issues. That's the beauty of this country, is that we are all different, and that's what we bring to the table. That's exactly what makes this country great. So this divide and this anger that's going on, that's the conspiracy that is being driven behind the scenes. And those that are triggered are victims to it. And it's very easy to get out of, Deb. It's very easy. Just listen to me, take a deep breath, and go, oh, somebody's messing with my head here. Okay, it's all right. Look, do you remember, and I've got to get back to the phones, but do you remember the whole disco sucks era? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Rockers against disco. And it got ugly in this country. It got ugly. Remember the Disco Sucks T-shirt, and man, you know what? I love disco, but I was a rock and roll guy. But I it's the same. Well, that's what made just think about that. We got through that, and that's what is beautiful about this country. People are going to like the kind of music that they like. They're going to like the kind of dress that they like. How they like to look: long hair, short hair, makeup, no makeup. Whatever you go and be different. That's what, go and be as different as you can. That's what makes this country great. And I will always stick by that. That's it. And if you can't talk freely, and especially in here, then, now we're talking about censorship, and you don't want to listen to somebody else that you're right and everybody else is wrong. Whoa, stop that. Let's just listen. Let's listen. Let's all hang out. Sit around the campfire and, chain smoke some cigarettes and smoke whatever and drink whatever and have conversation. And that's what makes everything great. We still wake up in the morning, the sun comes up, and this country moves forward. And I'm being serious about that, So there you go. Hey, Deb, I got to get to some more phone calls. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Take care.
Thank you. That's a brilliant phone call right there. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, it's Paul from sunny Southern Oregon again. How are you?
Paul from sunny Southern Oregon. I was with some friends today. I was out doing some stuff. They just got back from Medford. They went up for Veterans Day, and came back and said, that was our first trip to Oregon. That was amazing. Love it up there. So we talked about Oregon all afternoon, and you're calling in now. It's called Synchronicity. How you doing, Paul? What's on your mind?
I'm doing great. Elvis and Nellie seem to be calm at the moment, so hopefully no wild dog barks. Listen, Danny Sheehan was spot on. Any one of those subjects would have been a show in and of itself. You have to go back and listen to what he said again and again and again. My research has shown that what he says is true. Standing Rock, I was so outraged by seeing the use of military weapons against American citizens in lawful protest that I said no more oil. No more oil, period. As a result, I bought an electric car. You know what it says on the back of the car?
What?
Look, Ma, no gas. And every commuter sees it going into work, and every commuter sees it coming out.
That's
true story. In terms of what he was talking about, in terms of Alan Dulles, John Foster Dulles, and Brown Harriman and company, again, spot on. Go back and get David Talbot on your program out of San Francisco. He wrote The Brothers and The Devil's Chessboard. Remarkable stories that touch on this stuff. It's just incredible. Yes, we are being played. My best friend is a hardcore Republican former county commissioner, and we get together at least 3 or 4 days a week for a brief breakfast and toss this stuff back and forth. And it's the only way to keep going. You got to keep your information bubble expanded and porous. In terms of the space program, well, Carol Rosen is a friend, and the whole demilitarization of space is a noble cause. It's not going to happen, but it's a noble cause to aspire to, and on and on and on. I'd like to hear this guy again.
Yeah, he's the best. He's the best. And Paul, thank you for that. And again, it's just about listening. That's all. Just listen. And that's how we move forward. Thank you so much, Paul. And have a great rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care.
You too. Great phone call. Let's just stay on the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Ken from Irvine.
Hey, Ken from Irvine. How are you?
Jimmy, thanks for taking my call, sir. I'm doing great. I really enjoyed yesterday's guest, Michael, and I started out with kind of a closed mind and just listened to the man, and he was brilliant. Tonight, I had just such an objection to what I was hearing. And my objection was really when you came down to the 3 billion who are the unwashed. And, when I was in school, I knew a kid who came from, he was an Aborigine. He came from some very poor, very backwards tribe. And he was raised there. And they brought him over. He was adopted. And he was educated. And he was intelligent. And he came from a tribe and was a fully productive, intelligent, educated human. And I don't think the previous guest tonight really addressed that.
No, actually he did. You should go back and listen. What he was talking about, maybe you missed it, but when he directly referenced not only the Aborigines, but some of the tribes in Africa, where he was saying that they are some of the most enlightened, and also the American Indians, that educated and understand through their own cultures, not only the ET question, but contact and addressing where their intelligence came from. So that part, and also their ancestral DNA. So no, he did. It was me, and he went off onto the Aboriginal side, and that's not what I was referring to. When I'm talking about the 3 billion of the world's poor, I need everybody to understand what I'm talking about. Those that are living in and around, garbage dumps around the world that are in a poverty. I'm not talking about tribes and the American Indians or the Aborigines or African tribes or those that are living in the jungles and in the Amazon. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those that are living in cities and in and around poverty where they don't have a chance to go to college, to go to school, to get an education, to get a job. They are entitled. You look at some of these homeless children without parents, living just in poverty. That right there, going to them and talking to them about awakening and enlightenment and 3D, 4D, 5D existence and changing themselves. They don't care about that. They don't even understand. They don't. It's those that we need to help first. And I don't know if you have, Ken, I don't know if you've lived outside of the United States or been to a third world country. I have. And when you see that and you see it for real, it changes you. And it's always been there for me, and it's affected me directly. And I really think that should be addressed. The corruption behind what has allowed the rich to get so much richer. Now, this isn't anything new. This goes back thousands of years. But today, so few are in control of so much, and it is astronomical the amount of money that is in control of so few. And the six richest people are worth I forget the amount, but it's in the $1 trillion, or more. You have to stop and ask yourself, how did we get here? And all of the world's woes, more today than ever before in the past, can be fixed instantly, and they don't care. Do not. Give me $1 trillion. I don't want the money. I'm going to go fix things. And it's really true, but they don't. How does the moral compass get so shifted and so twisted that they don't care? They don't.
And when they could raise their hand, like you were saying, they could wave their hand and feed these people. I agree with that part of it, Jimmy. That's beyond a crime. They're going to have to answer for that. I'm sure of that part of it. But
if you had,
the answer to that,
this is what's crazy. Yeah. This is what's crazy. And I do this math all the time. The whole 25,000 days on planet Earth math. If you live to 70, you got 25,000 days here. Well, if you are 55 years old right now, and you've got 5,000 days left, 5,000, and you have $10 billion, you could spend $1 million a day on yourself for the rest of your life and have another $5 billion left over. What do you care? You could literally spend that kind of money. What do you care about money for? Go and give it away. Go and build some schools. Go and feed some people, man. And I'm being serious. What do you need the money for?
I'm serious. Does it come back to Bruce? All men want to be rich, rich men want to be king. And I guess at this point, it's just control. You have all this money, and that's all well and good, but, now there's control that I want. Eesh, come on, feed the people. No, I'm with you on this one, Jimmy. I really am.
It blows my mind. And we sit back, the masses, we sit back and we watch this continue. Why? The majority, and I really mean this is what's nuts. The majority of not only this country, but the world, I know it's shocking, but listen to me, don't watch the news. Don't watch it. They don't know anything about anything, and they don't care. They get up,
care.
they go to work, they try to eat, they come home, watch a little sitcom, watch some comedy, go to bed, get up and do it all over again. The things that we discuss on this show, all of it, the conspiracy, they don't care. Do not. They don't. So therefore, because the status quo moves forward like it does with blinders on because they don't care, then those that are in control of this money are able to do what they want hiding behind the curtain. It's really true. Trust me. And the more that they can keep the world distracted, how much, I mean, out of the 7.5 billion people on this planet, this is what is crazy. 7.5 billion people. How many know about North Korea testing nuclear weapons? You'd be surprised, man. Very few. And that's just one. I'm just talking about the news. The news. How much? And do they care about the news? Do they honestly? It's a shocking situation, because if they did know, then that 0.1% that is in control of, $5 to $10 trillion, seriously, 5 to 10, they wouldn't be in control of that money. It would be a different situation. But the rest, man, they don't care. They don't care about, paying taxes and the 0.1% and the elite and the puppet masters and the shadow government and the Illuminati and the Rothschilds and the Fed and the banking system and all of. They don't care about any of that. Therefore, everything continues to move forward. And it goes unchanged and unchecked, and it's just the way that it is. I'm going to stay vocal about it. Our audience understands the conspiracy of things. When we talk about politics, see, this is the thing. And I'm watching Twitter. Oh, man, we don't do politics on this. No, we don't. Now, if you were listening closely to this show, we were discussing the conspiracy of politics. There's a big difference. Big difference. Man, if there's one thing that just yanks my chain, it's Washington. All of it. The lobbyists, the big pharma, the military-industrial complex, the banking system, the money that drives decision-making in Washington. All of it. There is no good. There is no good. There isn't. It doesn't exist. Any politician, this is what's really funny. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Pick a politician. They started off probably a good person. They probably started off wanting to fix things in their city, in their neighborhood, fixing potholes and the homeless issues and maybe some opening up some new libraries. They had really good intentions. And then they get screwed up. And money comes into play, and lobbyists come into play, and then everything changes, and how we remove that, I don't know. But that's the conspiracy of politics, and that's what everybody needs to understand. So when we discuss politics on this show, it's not politics. We're discussing the conspiracy of politics, what is really going on, and it's the truth. Ken, thank you so much for the phone call, my friend. Do you have a parting shot?
You,
do you have a parting shot? I said, do you have a parting shot?
Just keep your eyes open to the theater. It's the theater of it all. How much can you believe? Probably not very much.
That's exactly right.
Just knowing that you're watching a show is probably a good place to start.
Thank you so much, Ken. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Great phone call. Great conversation tonight with Daniel Sheehan. And, so always remember that, man. Only the conspiracy of things. And sometimes, even for us, those that are enlightened in this audience, you listen to things, and sometimes it's not easy to get through. It's not. We have never, ever face difficulties like we are today. And a big chunk of that, is being able to get facts, news, study, knowledge instantaneously right now. We can do that. If you think about how difficult it was to get information, go back, think about how technically advanced we were in 1985. 1985. Barely had cable TV, right? Barely. Cordless telephones. Ooh, right? Remote controls. Everything was still on a couple of news channels. Everything was a newspaper that was printed a day after the news happened. If you wanted to find anything out, you had to go to the library. You know, you didn't have any internet. If you had an out-of-date 5-year-old encyclopedia set at home, that's where you went, right? Now, today, it's not that kind of party, is it? You've got instantaneous everything, and that allows emotions to go crazy because you can go and find out anything right now, and the opposite happens. It can also be shown to you instantly. Instantly. You've got a smartphone in your bed at night after this show. The last thing you do before you close your eyes is you go and you check your smartphone. That's the last thing that you do. And what is it that you're expecting that you didn't see on your smartphone 10 minutes before that? A half an hour. Did the world change in the last 5 minutes? Did something go down on your feed? You know, what is it? You know, but something is being shown to you instantly. Think about that. And that is where emotions right now can be messed with. At the click of anything, millions of emotions go in one direction or another. It's serious. And that's why we talk freely on this show. This is Fade to Black. Tomorrow night, Dannion Brinkley. And Dannion tomorrow night's going to be another barn burner. Yeah, we're going to do a little near-death experience, but he has got some revelations coming out of Las Vegas and the Las Vegas shooter and Stephen Paddock. Tomorrow night is not going to be easy, but we've got to be able to listen. And again, this is something that the man doesn't want. He doesn't want freedom of thought. He doesn't want the sharing of ideas. No. And we are able to do that every night here on Fade to Black. This is the best show. And this is why we are able to sit down, talk here, and communicate freely. It'll never change. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Dannion Brinkley. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark T. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar, Fady by Dale, Webmaster Drew the Geek, Music Doug Aldrich, Intro Spaceboy, SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.